Okay, so I'm going to try to read this without pissing off my YouTube overlords too much. But in the battle of to open up or not to open up the country, that is the question. Michigan is becoming quite the battleground. The governor, Gretchen Whitmer, wants to extend the lockdown to May 15th. It's supposed to end on the 30th. Armed protesters showed up at her place of residence. Why armed? Well, obviously because they want as much attention as possible, and if you have an armed protest, you're more likely to get more attention. Michigan's Republican lawmakers are planning to strip Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer of her powers as armed anti-lockdown protesters gathered outside of her home and demanded she reopen the state's economy amid the coronavirus pandemic. So she's expected to speak Friday, that's today, about plans to extend it until May 15th. She'd said that she was open to relaxing some restrictions and reopening some sectors of the economy. But I mean, honestly, at some point, just speaking from an honest standpoint, at some point we have got to come to a new normal. We either live with this thing or we don't. And we either come to a new normal of, hey, look, yeah, it's like the flu. You could get it. And yeah, it could delete you. But, at some point we've got to get back to a normal. We've got to find a way to work around it and adapt. We can't lock the country down. We can't keep the country locked down. And good Lord, the idea of locking the country down every year for a period of time, even if it's just for a month, well, that doesn't make sense either. So what? We're going to pay taxes all year round in order to just have that 1 month where we can have the government pay us back. I don't like that idea either. But Michigan has the third most reported deletions related to COVID in the United States. And it's the highest deletion rate in the country. Now that's something. Data that measures the rate of coronavirus spread from secondary infections has also indicated that 1.10, I'm assuming that means 1 out of every 10 people, will become infected by a COVID-positive person in the state. There will be a need for an extension of some sort, Whitmer said, of the lockdown extension. Maybe, but maybe not. At some point, we have got to get to a normal. At some point, we have got to get to a point where we say we live with this thing, okay? We live with the flu. I'm sure when the flu first came out, it was a pretty scary thing, too. Everything when it first comes out is a pretty scary thing. And then what happens? We adapt. We move on. It becomes part of our lexicon, part of our daily lives, and we move on. But we can't keep going like we're going. I mean, we've got to make decisions. We've got to make choices. At some point, we've got to say, hey, we need to get back on with life. And it's personal decisions, too. And I know it kind of sucks. Not much of a good personal decision if you're one of those people that's in the danger zone. But look, security and freedom. If you want more freedom, you're going to have less security. If you want more security, you're going to have less freedom. So at some point, we've got to let people make their decisions. And I know it's hard because our group decisions affect other people. What if you're an 85-year-old person and you're like, look, I don't want people going out and I don't want this because I'm in a danger zone. But then again, I mean, God, layers and onions, man, layers and onions. Do I want the country to open up? Of course. Do I want people to get harmed by this thing? Of course not. But it's going to happen. And we have got to get back to some sort of normal. We have got to. But she's saying that some version of COVID-19 lockdown will be in effect for a while. And she said, and I quote, "We know that even when we get to a stable moment, people who are compromised, who are vulnerable to COVID-19, are still going to need to stay home." Oh, but do they? What if they want to go out? What if an 85, 86, 87-year-old man who's had existing conditions and is in extreme danger of COVID-19 still wants to go outside despite the risk? What are you going to do? Force them to stay at home? It's personal choice. And that's what I'm trying to portray here. At some point, we have got to get to the point where we're letting people make their own personal choice again. That's freedom. If you want to take the risk and go out and be free, then you take the risk and go out and be free. And if you want to stay in and be secure, then you can stay in and be secure. But if you stay in and be secure, don't expect anybody to be happy about taxpayer dollars going to you. People are going to be lambasting you for it, but again, it's personal choice. But that's the basics of the article. Everything else is really, honestly, a lot of fluff. What do we do? What do we do? Every solution has its own set of problems. Every problem has its own set of solutions, which then brings its own set of problems. There is no perfect solution, so we have got to get to the point where we let people make their own personal choice, regardless of whether they put themselves at risk or not, because that's kind of freedom. Freedom is being able to put yourself at risk to be able to do the things you want to do. Anyways, comments, thoughts, concerns, likes, subscribes, shares. Anything helps me beat YouTube's algorithm, so just give it a thought. I love you guys. We'll see you on the next one.